A true sense of serenity and escapism, just minutes away from Muscat, is how it's described, and I do have to say, I agree. A few things could use some tweaking, but overall, it's a pleasure to bring you this full tour and review. Welcome to Muscat, Oman. If you're new to the channel, let me be the first to welcome you. My name is Kevin, and I am the Flip Flop Traveler. I'm here to give you honest content about flights, hotels, trains, and cruises. I paid for this stay out of pocket, and as always, the price that I paid is in the description below. Jumeirah had no knowledge that I'd be filming, and I didn't receive any compensation for doing so. Everything in this video is my personal opinion, based on my own unique experience. The rest, I'll let it speak for itself. Let's get started. Right now, we're heading from a hotel close to the airport, where I caught what was essentially a nap, to the exclusive gated community of Muscat Bay, to the east of the city center. Muscat is by no means your typical type of city, and I would go 43 steps further and say it's certainly not your typical type of Gulf city. Look at Doha, Kuwait City, Manama, Abu Dhabi, and certainly Dubai. Their skylines are defined by big shiny skyscrapers, rising high above the ritzy malls, Michelin-starred restaurants, over-the-top hotels, and million-dollar cars. Muscat and Oman is sort of the antithesis to that. 55 years ago, Oman was isolated, closed, and steeped in traditional ways. Now, Oman is open, well-connected, but still steeped in traditional ways, by design. That's why laws like the one banning skyscrapers even exist. Oman certainly isn't low-key because the money and resources aren't there. It's low-key because they chose tradition and nature over glam. Do I sound like I work for the Omani Tourism Board yet? Well, I don't. But there are few people that I've come across in my life who have been to Oman and leave with a bad impression, and now I can say I do see why. We are now in the gated community of Muscat Bay, a mixed-use development surrounding Bandar Al Jissa Beach, with the Al Hajar Mountains in the backdrop. The Jumeirah opened in December of 2022 and has a total of 206 rooms. Jumeirah is a luxury hotel chain owned by Dubai Holdings, an Emirati government fund. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do need to mention that my previous and first experience at a Jumeirah property in Bali was horrible. That video is linked above and below. I mention that simply so that you know perhaps where my mind was and what I was looking for and expecting when arriving here. Walking inside, the entryway is flanked by reception and concierge desks, and then you'll continue into the lobby lounge, which also doubles as Tarini, their tea lounge in the afternoons. Like the capital where it's located, Jumeirah is understated and subtle in its design, except for how it relates to the natural beauty that surrounds it. The design heightens that and is always redirecting your gaze towards the bay. I think first glances could see the interior as a bit generic and bland, besides the views of course. But I'd invite you to look a bit closer, and then many of the subtle design cues and nods to Omani culture slowly come into focus. And honestly, when you've got views like this, unspoiled nature in full view, I'm not too sure the interiors should be taking your eye away from it. let's head down to the beach and pool areas. The private crescent that the resort is located on really does define your experience at the property. When you're here, no matter where you look, you can only see the resort and the surrounds, which is where the sense of escapism I mentioned in the teaser comes into play. To better understand where we are, let's take a look at the maps. Oman occupies the southeastern corner of the Arabian Peninsula, surrounded by the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen. Muscat, a collection of fishing villages, is located seaside on the rugged northeast coastline. While there are some hotels and resorts in Muscat proper, the big guns, if you will, are anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes outside of the city center. Oman is a conservative country, and so that can be seen in some of the design elements in the common areas, affording many opportunities to have a more private corner to yourself among the many loungers dotting the property. The sprawling Golden Sand Beach is the highlight of the property for me. Not all beaches in and around Muscat are swimmable, so this is a prime piece of real estate. Though they could certainly replace some of these less than a year old lounge covers. On the other side of the property is a second pool, as well as a kids' pool and play area. Despite having a few hundred rooms, the property feels very manageable and pretty intimate. I should mention one thing about my scoring for this and other upcoming reviews in Muscat and Dubai. My scores are always relative to the price that I pay, but that has as much to do with the price itself as well as the price of the competition at that time. Oman and the UAE have drastic differences between peak and off-season pricing. I was here just as peak periods were beginning, so the prices are, in most cases, more than double what you'd find in the hotter summer months. Long story short, the price of this hotel per night during peak season may look high, but it is par for the course in this part of the world. Alright, let's go head up to my room. I was allocated an Oceanview room with balcony on arrival, and was really happy with the room itself. The decor and colors are calming, and most materials they used are clearly premium quality. I particularly love the sconces, which to me at least look like the sun rising behind some clouds. As we look around, I'll put up the extra bits. My only two small complaints are the main door to the room slams with force and is very loud. Generally in the room, noise insulation is pretty good, but nothing is going to block out the noise of your neighbor letting their door slam. Here's your friendly reminder to click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends and family. Those are truly the easiest ways, all free for you, to help the channel grow. If you'd like to support me further, my Patreon is linked in the description below. Thanks very much in advance. Yes, I kept my Emirates first class tag on my bag until it fell off. I always enjoy this layout for bathrooms as I think it makes a great use of space. What really did elevate this bathroom though were the Amouage products, and in very generous sized bottles. Amouage is a local Omani brand which specializes in fragrances. They don't sell lotions and soaps retail, just for hotels and Oman Air, but their colognes start at $300 and go up, up, up from there. Besides that, the next best thing in the room was the view from the balcony itself. I'll note that all rooms do have ocean views, but not all have balconies. I booked the cheaper room without a balcony, but was upgraded to this one as it's an Expedia VIP property. My rate also included a 20 Rial credit, which is around $50 US. By this point, I was still a bit, let's say, wobbly from my very indulgent first class flights on Emirates, so I ordered the cold meze platter and a nap. The platter was huge, delivered quickly, and along with around 3 liters of water was exactly what I needed. There are a total of 5 food venues at this resort. One restaurant, Breza, was not open while I was there. Anzo is a strange one. As best as I can gather, it's a cocktail bar that serves up what would be tapas with Asian flavors, and the space, in all honesty, is simply awkward. It felt like one of those rooms where if you were having a conversation, everyone else in the room would be able to hear exactly what you were saying, no matter how quietly you were speaking. I also don't see or feel anything Asian, East Asian that is, about the space. So let's move to Zuka, where I had dinner. Zuka is a pier of sorts jutting out to the water's edge, and has a wonderful breezy atmosphere, especially after dark. Staff at the resort were mostly friendly and accommodating, but slightly reserved. But the exception to that was here at Zuka, where each table was the most important one in the room. The restaurant features a casual menu with a nice assortment. For starters, I went with the hot meze platter, which wasn't actually on the menu, but since I had the cold meze for lunch, I asked if they could do the hot one for dinner, and they were happy to oblige. It may have been a mistake to order anything more than that. It in and of itself was a feast, and a delicious one at that. Luckily, my main dish, the grilled local tuna with caponata, was a much more manageable size, and bright and fresh. If you're not from the Gulf, I'd recommend doing a little bit of mental training on currency valuations before you come. 1 Omani Rial is equal to around $2.50. So, on the menu, the prices look so reasonable and innocent at first glance. But once you add 3 types of tax, a service charge, and then convert it, that innocent 16 becomes $51. Expensive, but not necessarily overpriced for where we are. But just take note, and your wallet will thank you. Being in such a quiet, isolated location, after dark, it was a beautiful place to go for a stroll, which will continue in the morning. time for breakfast at Peridot. On offer at the bright and airy all-day restaurant was a really well-stocked and presented buffet, along with a supplemental a la carte menu. To my delight, everything that was meant to be hot was hot, and the staff were also very snappy with coffee and egg orders. So, it's a bit ironic, and it wasn't really planned on purpose, that I had two previous poor reviews about a Jumeirah and a Ritz Carlton. And the two brands that I'm visiting in Muscat are Jumeirah and Ritz Carlton. So the question must be, have they redeemed themselves? In Jumeirah's case, I would say they certainly have. Not only was it a great experience overall, but the very specific problems that I had in Bali, the beach cleanliness, rude staff, poorly executed food, and more, couldn't be further from the polar opposite here. So I reckon I'll be seeing many more Jumeirahs in my future. By the way, there's also an extensive spa wing which has its own separate entrance for the public as well. But in this part of the world, I don't attempt to film at any spa or fitness center. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with all notifications on, so you don't miss out on my twice weekly flights. I'll see you next time on a very cool little flight from London City Airport to Zurich on the first ever Swiss A220. Oh, and as always, thanks for watching until the end.